So let's get to the trailer because then there'll be more things to discuss once we get through this. So in the trailer, we see Teddy tied up. We see Franklin, shooting up in the air and kind of startling him. And Teddy says, "You've lost your mind." We see Ruben um, talking. He looks like he's tied up, and he basically says the KGB has tapes of Franklin. And then, we see Franklin and Gustavo sat at a table, kind of discussing things, it looks like. And we see another shot of them. I think they were opening a car bonnet or something, a car boot. Um, and then we see Leon holding Teddy, so it looks like they do maybe move him. And there's an interesting note about that as well. But I'll get to that in a sec. We see cops chasing Louis, and potentially raiding the hood. It looks like, I don't know. And then we see Franklin. He gives like an epic monologue to Teddy, talking about how in every story it's the guy that looks like you that wins, but not this time. And then he spins the revolver and everything. So that was a cool shot. But yeah, as always, a well put together trailer, very well edited. Things might not always be as they seem, of course, because of how they put these things together. But that was the trailer. So, um, what do you think that tells us about next week? Now, first of all, the thing I wanted to say about the Leon thing was, and somebody mentioned it actually, like in the very first time Teddy meets Franklin, he kind of holds up Franklin and Leon together. So it's like a nice callback to that, and that has people thinking that this will be the last time they see each other, like because it's kind of poetic if it's Franklin, Leon, and Teddy the first time they meet, and then the last time they ever meet, it's those three again. Some people are also saying maybe Leon dies as well, but what do you think about that? So first of all, you can start with the whole Leon thing, but also what do you think of the trailer and what it tells us about the next episode?
Well, that's a very good observation. So starting off with the trailer, I think that again, FX, they are very clever at how they edit these trailers together, showing you all these various shots with little to no context. I thought the footage about Franklin having that line to Teddy at the end and then turning the revolver around in the gun, that I thought that was pretty badass. Obviously, I don't really know if Franklin is going to kill Teddy. I think we all want him to take out Teddy, but we know that Franklin also wants his money. So I kind of feel like because he wants his money and he doesn't have it yet, he won't kill Teddy yet. He will torture Teddy until Teddy tells him how to get his money. Then he would kill Teddy. I feel, but yeah, the way they put together the trailer is a lot of things you can kind of tell, get an idea of what could potentially happen. Obviously, I do believe that Louis will get raided by the police because again, the DEA had footage of her when they took them camera shots of her talking to Gustavo, doing the deal with Gustavo. So I kind of feel like Louis is in trouble. She's probably going to get arrested in the next episode. You see that Sissy is a little angry, I guess, when she hears something that makes her angry. And I don't, and maybe it's because of the fact that Franklin is holding him hostage now, and she obviously wants Teddy dead. So I will be very curious to see what that conversation will be like once they get to that point. Um, the stuff about Leon, as you mentioned, very, very interesting. And that is a very good observation because I think that's right on the money about them being together. And that could be the last time. Now, again, it all depends on, you know, which path they decide to go down. Leon, obviously, he is in charge of the projects right now. Something could still happen with him in that projects when he does go back there because we already know that, a lot of people were making mention of, I believe it was in the previous episode, there was an individual that we recall that Leon got into a fight with in the past that looked at him, looked as though he wanted to take him down. And again, you had to really watch the episode carefully to notice it because it was a very quick glimpse of you seeing how he looked at how he was looking at Franklin. So I'm going to say how he looked at Leon. So I kind of feel like Leon's fate still not necessarily positive. Something could happen to him next week. But if he is involving himself in this stuff with Teddy, and the CIA happens to find out where they are at, the DEA happens to find out where they are at, then that's a problem. So, yeah, I kind of feel like anything could happen. And what you said at the beginning of this podcast, Gary, I think is 100% accurate when you said it felt like a lot of people were having their final conversations in the episode. I believe that 100%. I do not believe that Gustavo is going to reunite with his family. Something's going to happen to him. Either he's going to get arrested or he's going to get killed. And I'm probably leaning more towards getting killed since we saw him getting arrested in this episode. Leon, because he decided to stay in the projects and now he's getting involved in this stuff with Teddy and Franklin, he probably won't make it out either. And then, of course, Franklin, I kind of feel like Franklin is going to get some measure of revenge against Teddy. Whether it is he gets his money or he kills him, I don't think he's going to get both of those things though. So we'll have to see what happens. And of course, Veronique, we do see her in the trailer briefly. So she is still around. Don't know the severity of what's going on with her pregnancy, but she's still around. So we'll get a lot of those answers though, I feel, next week. But yeah, they did an excellent job editing the trailer as they always do, because it makes you think of the various possibilities of what could happen in the episode. So it's great. But what I do guarantee though, it will be another intense episode. But I think it's going to be more intense for the people that are fans of Teddy. And I don't know if any of those people out there are fans of Teddy. Obviously, if you watch our podcast, I would like for you to leave a comment and let us know if you like the Teddy character. But I think the Teddy character, something bad needs to happen to him. So I will not be rooting for him to get out of this situation next week.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to hear from the people who enjoy Teddy and want to see him win. Definitely leave your comments. But yeah, what you said about Leon definitely makes sense. And another thing that I didn't mention also is, we got the little conversation between him and Scully. It was very short at the funeral scene. Well, the aftermath of the funeral. But yeah, they kind of had that discussion, and Scully, he basically told him that don't worry about it, and everything's cool now and stuff, and everything's in the past. So the fact that they gave us that little moment, even though it was very brief, it does make me think that time might be running out for Leon, because he kind of got that closure with Scully a little bit. So I think that they put that there for a reason, and that his time might be coming to an end. Go ahead.
I was going to say I agree with that 100%. Like I had said on the previous podcast, there's absolutely no reason for Leon to stay in the projects. There's no reason for him to be back in this environment. So the fact that he is back in this environment means something bad will happen to the character. And as you said, now that he has closure on everything that happened with Scully, yeah, it kind of feels that way. Something bad will happen to him as well. Because again, after they saw what happened to Jerome, that should have been a wake-up call for Leon and Wanda to just leave. Wanda left, all right? So she's already out doing her own thing, getting an apartment. But Leon, after you see that, I'm like, maybe I need to go back to Ghana and just build a life with Wanda there instead of staying here in the midst of all this chaos. But the fact that he's staying there means things are not going to end well for him. Either he gets arrested or he gets killed. But it's just not a good situation for him to be around. I understand this is Franklin's boy, and obviously people like watching these, the characters who are really close friends stick through, stay together through everything. I understand that, but there's no reason for him to be there right now. So something bad definitely can happen to him at any moment, whether it's next week or in the finale. So we'll have to see what actually happens with all of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't know if this is how it's going to unfold, but to me, it looks like, Gustavo might be left kind of cleaning up the pieces a little bit, like after Ruben reveals that there's recordings and whatever else they have, his mission basically might be to kind of track all of this stuff down and try and get rid of it. Maybe, I don't know if that means breaking into Ruben's house, or or trying to I don't know. I don't know where that footage might be. But yeah, it feels like he's going to be doing a lot of running around trying to wrap things up. But I feel like that's going to leave him vulnerable to either getting busted again by the DEA or getting killed. And I feel like at this point he doesn't have, well, he does have things to lose because he cares about his his girl and the kids and everything. But I feel like I don't think he wants to go down without fight at this point, because he's got this far. So I feel like he might even, feel the need to shoot at the cops if they come close to him. So
Well, that could definitely happen. One thing I thought about though, as you were talking about Gustavo, and this is something that I could definitely see happening, is that Ruben does say that they have recordings of Franklin, so they know a lot of details about Franklin. Would Gustavo not question if Franklin said anything about him in those recordings? Because I feel like Ruben could say, "Oh well, I know who you are because he's spoken about you. He knows a lot more about you, stuff like that." So he can try and turn these two against each other. I don't think it's going to be successful, but I just feel like when you go back to the conversation that Gustavo and Franklin had a couple episodes ago, and Gustavo mentioned about the DEA, but he said they don't know anything about you, Franklin, but they know about Louis. I'm pretty sure he will question, well, how much does this guy know? How much has Franklin told this guy about me? That's why I want to see what is the tactic that they're going to use to try and get out of this. Obviously, Ruben likes to play mind games as well as Teddy. So they're definitely going to try and do something separately, of course, not together, but separately. They're going to have their own agenda as to how they're going to try to get out of this situation. And I'm very curious to see what it is that they try to do. But yeah, it was good that we saw the alliance of Franklin and Gustavo in this episode. Again, we know what Franklin did for Gustavo in the previous season. And I like, again, how, like you said about the callbacks, because you recall, maybe this is what you were trying to mention earlier. When Gustavo calls Franklin because he's about to do the deal, and then Franklin is saying he's more nervous than he was when we were locked in that cage with that tiger. So see, I like how they have those callbacks to stuff that has happened previously on the show for those that have been watching, so that just to show that you are invested in what's happening every season with these characters. But I'm very curious to see what happens next week. But yeah, I think you make a good point. Gustavo will have to try to clean up the pieces. But again, because the DEA is still around, and they obviously are going to want revenge on Ruben as well as Gustavo, they are definitely going to be looking for them as well in the next episode. So he may not have enough time to really sort things out. But I definitely do see him getting involved in a shootout, and that may not end the way that he wants it to end. So stay tuned for that.